welcome to the Life Leadership Podcast with me, Leila Singh. This is the place where ambitious business professionals come to level up in their career and life. Here, we explore powerful strategies for leadership development. We dive into career and personal mastery, mental fitness, and building a standout personal brand. So if you're ready to play a bigger game and unlock your hidden potential to thrive in this fast evolving world of life and business, then you're in the right place. So let's dive in. The topic of today, step up in your career with the power of the 3 C's. So today what I'd like to do is to dive into what I believe to be a very powerful theme that in fact underpinned a recent retreat that I delivered alongside my partner over in the Caribbean. You might have seen some posts that I shared about this. So what was the theme? The theme was the 3 C's, and they are commitment, conduct, and consistency, which I believe are the 3 C's essential for both career and personal success. So if you are somebody who is keen to progress in your career, or in fact, you're doing really well, you're happy with where you are, but maybe you're struggling in other areas of your life, for example, in your health and wellness, this is a great approach and strategy to take for any area of your life. I am going to focus on sharing this through the context of your career. But again, if you're nailing it when it comes to your career and you're really happy with where you are, then maybe consider how you can apply this to other areas of your life too. So it's all working really well in alignment. Okay. So what are the 3 C's? I want to go through these with you and show you how they link to your career. So the first C is commitment. And when I talk about commitment, what I'm talking about is the dedication to both set and to pursue your goals, whatever those goals may be. This doesn't mean that your goal has to be that you're looking to progress towards being the next C-suite executive at an organization. It can be whatever you want it to be, whatever is aspirational for you and what excites you, what lights you up, what motivates you. So in a career context, this means by having commitment, it enables you to have that unwavering focus on your longer term career trajectory and in your long term ambitions. And that could be, as I said, it could be your promotion, your career trajectory up the ladder. It could be skills, mastering certain skills, or simply impactful leadership. So if you're already someone in a senior role, in a leadership executive role, then it could be simply about making a bigger impact. So what is your commitment when it comes to your career? The second C is conduct. What I mean by conduct is how you conduct yourself from a place of integrity. In other words, aligning your actions with your words and your value. Put simply, it's about doing what you say you are going to do. And when I say this, I don't mean only what you say to other people, because I've realized from many, many conversations on this topic that it's very easy to, or let me rephrase that, it's easier to be in integrity with others. In other words, if you commit to somebody that you're going to maybe complete a piece of work or show up at a certain time and so forth, it's easier to do. What people really struggle with is integrity with themselves. In other words, when you commit to doing something for yourself or telling yourself you're going to do something, it's not as easy to follow through or easier perhaps to put other people first, put yourself last, or simply deprioritize. An example being the gym or your fitness, and saying, I'm going to get up and every morning I'm going to do X. And then you stay in bed, you don't do it. That's integrity as well. So you want to really look at integrity, both from doing what you say you're going to do for yourself, first and foremost, and as well for other people, what your commitments are. So that is what I mean by conduct. It's about integrity. How does this align to your career? In the workplace, it ensures both trustworthiness with others as well as reliability. So when people know that you're going to follow through on your words with actions, it creates that reliability. And it's also something that is incredibly essential, it's non-negotiable. In fact, when it comes to influential leadership, it's doing what you say you're going to do. The third C is, excuse me, the third C is consistency. And what I mean here is about the regular, the reliable actions, the small actions that reinforce your dedication and also help you to build your professional reputation, because consistency is key. It also is key to moving forward and making progress in any area of your life when you strive towards a certain goal. So if you think about consistency in communication, in the way that you communicate, in your decision making, and also in your presence, the way that you show up in person, all of that can lead to sustained results over time when it comes to your career. So those are the 3 C's: commitment, conduct, and consistency, and how they relate to your career. So why are these 3 C's crucial when it comes to your career advancement? Without commitment, your career trajectory becomes more reactive rather than proactive, because you want to have line of sight. You want to have not necessarily an end goal. You might be someone who has a 3-year, 5-year, 10-year career plan. For some people, they're not really quite sure yet where they want to get to ultimately, but you might have a 12-month plan. You might have an idea of the experience you want to gain, the skills you want to master, the experience and opportunities you want to have. So that in itself gives you a little bit of a trajectory that you can plan towards, and then you can commit to that so that you can see yourself making that progress. What we don't want is to simply be reactive and just get out of bed every day, show up for work, and nothing changes. Unless you're somebody who's happy doing that. But if you are someone who's wanting to achieve more, who is wanting to progress, you want to identify what your commitments are and have a level of vision, whether it's 6, 12 months or 5 years, that you can work and strive towards. The lack of consistency, if you're, for example, delivering career achievement and progression. It's also, when you apply this to your wider life, it can lead to better work-life balance, as well as a greater confidence in yourself, because you have a vision of where you're heading. You're committed to what you want to do. It will instill you with greater confidence to move forward. When you maintain your integrity with yourself and what you say you're going to do, following through on that, again, it instills confidence from other people in you, and well positions you as a leader, someone who can be influential, who can be relied on, trusted, and so forth. And then consistency in following through. So all of this leads to that better work-life balance, feeling like you're more in control and able to influence your outcomes, and being more fulfilled. What are some of the challenges that result in people avoiding these? Well, the first thing when we look at commitment is people avoiding commitment simply because of the fear of failure, or possibly being overwhelmed by having long-term goals, which is why I always suggest baby steps. If you're somebody who feels overwhelmed, if you have to sit and think about a 12-month plan, then don't think about a 6-month plan. Go with the baby steps, go with what feels comfortable, rather than making yourself feel overwhelmed and then not doing anything at all, not taking any action. And when we talk about fear of failure, it's easy to avoid commitment to something because you feel, well, it might not work out. But actually, when we start by making a commitment to what we want, it's more likely, A, that opportunities will arise for you. When you talk about your commitments, people will become aware. So in the workplace, for example, if you're talking about building some skills, developing certain type of experience, getting that promotion, now people become more aware. It's in people's awareness, so that it's more likely to happen. Opportunities will more likely present themselves to you. So it's important to have those commitments. And here's the thing, we don't want to be living in fear, okay? Because when we fear failure, actually failure is simply learning. All the very incredibly successful people have failed multiple times at some stage, and you can read about this on social media all of the time. So there's so much to be said about what we learn from when things don't work out the way we intended. But here's the thing, other opportunities might come about as a consequence. Sometimes failure or rejection could be seen as a redirection. Maybe it wasn't meant for you, maybe it wasn't the right role, or the manager wasn't somebody you necessarily be compatible with, so actually getting that role wouldn't have been the best thing for you. So you want to look at the big picture and not take things personally, and yet remember that you still want to be able to have a vision of where you want to get to and create those commitments towards getting there, keeping them as baby steps if you're someone who finds you get overwhelmed with very long-term planning. Another common challenge when it comes to integrity, so your conduct, is that this can be challenging when you're under stress. It's very easy, for example, to be tempted to take shortcuts when you're under pressure to deliver and so forth. So you want to ensure you're in integrity with your values, with what you have said, but also recognizing that there are times when there will be added stress and pressure that may take you away from that, and look at how you can manage yourself in those situations without having to compromise on your integrity. And that could simply be communicating about it, because it's very easy to get stressed and then maybe take those shortcuts or not take action, when actually a simple conversation with the right people could alleviate a lot of that stress. The third C, consistency, one of the challenges here, and if you think about it when it comes to New Year's resolutions or committing to health goals, it's very easy to start strong and then falter due to a number of reasons. It could be distractions, it could be fatigue, or simply impatience with the slow progress or lack of progress, and then giving up. Think about, if you've ever been on a diet, for example, have you kind of started out really strong, and then after a couple of weeks, like, well, I'm not noticing any difference, but I'm avoiding all these foods that I love. Actually, I'm just going to go back to eating what I want. And it's that kind of thing when it comes to consistency. You've got to play the long game here to really see the results and the wins that you're aspiring towards. So the main reason that people avoid these practices of commitment, of integrity, of consistency, it often comes down to discomfort. Discomfort, for example, as I said, with starting strong with something and then feeling, oh, it's not really working, I'm going to go back to what I know because it's easier. Fear of change. The thing with fear of change is change is inevitable. Change is a little bit like death and taxes. It is inevitable. Change happens every day. It's how we view it. Now, we can see it as something that's bad and we want to stay comfortable, or we can see it as that's what life is. Life is changing all of the time. Some of that is in our influence, some of it is not, but actually, how do we embrace it? Because embracing it enables your growth. It enables you to move forward and to progress. Also, another reason for avoiding these practices is that lack of immediate rewards. Again, looking at consistency and the fact that we can start strong and then feel like we're not really making progress in something. It's easy then, if we're not getting those immediate results or the rewards, that we just give up. So you want to really understand what it is that might have you avoiding committing towards your career, being in integrity, and having those consistent behaviors and habits in place. So what does it mean, therefore, if we're avoiding or we're having these challenges, what does that mean for not following through? If we look at commitment, without commitment, you're running the risk of wavering under pressure, because if you're not committed thoroughly to something, then the minute you hit an obstacle or some pressure, you're likely to step back or to give up. It also results in potentially leading to missed targets at work or goals that you've been set, or potentially longer term a stalled career. So you won't really want to look at the cost to you of avoiding commitment in your career. The second is integrity. So when we don't have integrity, trust will be eroded very, very quickly. It can diminish your level of influence in the workplace, and particularly if you're in a leadership position. And it can also make you unreliable in the eyes of your peer group and other leaders. So integrity is key. Consistency, when we don't have consistency, we have that initial progress that can quickly fizzle out if we're not maintaining that level of consistency. It can cause frustration and also, again, a perception of being unreliable. So there's a big cost of not following through on these 3 C's. What are the advantages? Why? If you're sitting there thinking, well, why should I? And by the way, do share your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what's resonating with you here and what actions that you're identifying you can take from this. Here are some of the advantages, because if you're thinking, well, what's the benefit of me doing this? Here are some of them for you. So if you adopt commitment and take on commitment in your career, it leads to more clarity when it comes to your decision making, when opportunities present themselves, and also more resilience and steadfastness in terms of setbacks. So when obstacles arise or something is challenging or you have pressure put on you, you're still committed to following through or pushing through. Another advantage with integrity is fostering that trust, that respect, and the loyalty from colleagues, which is really important if you're someone who's wanting to advance your career, because you want that loyalty, you want that support from the people around you, and you want respect. So integrity plays a big role in that. It also will enhance your influence as well as your leadership profile if you're someone who is in leadership or aspiring to be in a leadership position. And then we look at consistency. So what's the advantage of consistency? It creates the momentum first and foremost, and it positions you as someone who is dependable, who follows through, who is professional, and it will open doors for you when it comes to promotions and, for example, other critical or major projects that you might be interested in. And as always, I'd love to share some strategies, because you might be wondering, well, what do I do about this? How do I implement this? It's easy to talk about it, but what do I actually do in terms of taking action? So I want to share 5 strategies with you. The first one is, when we think about commitments, is setting realistic and achievable goals. So yes, you want to stretch yourself, but you also want to make your goals realistic so that you don't easily then choose to give up because it's too hard, it's too difficult. So when you have your goals, break the larger goals down into more manageable milestones so that you can foster commitment to keep following through, and celebrate the small wins to maintain your momentum. Don't just like tick a box and keep going and then you start to get fed up and despondent about it. You want to celebrate the small wins along the way. Recognize your progress. Although you have the big goal in mind, just further ahead, you still want to recognize the progress you're making along the way. So set achievable and realistic goals and create manageable milestones. The second strategy is scheduling in integrity checks. In other words, take time out to regularly review whether your actions are aligning with what you say you're going to do, alongside your values and your promises, particularly, as I said earlier, the promises that you make to yourself. Are you following through on those promises? And take some time here to reflect on any gaps and what you can do to close those gaps, what you can do to correct them. The third strategy is prioritizing consistency with the little habits, the micro habits. In other words, building habits that reinforce your consistency. For example, it might be you want to commit to providing regular updates on a project that you're working on to your management or to your team, to your peer group. It could be committing to weekly self-reflection, coming back to your integrity check. So slowing down and noticing where you didn't follow through and what you said you were going to do, whether that was for yourself or for others. So that's prioritizing the consistency in some shape or form. It could be that you want to master a new skill. So now, are you carving out time in your diary on a regular basis to spend some time studying or training or practicing to master that particular skill? The fourth is accountability partnerships. So here, I invite you to work with a mentor or a coach to stay committed to your vision and to your goals, and also to maintain your integrity, in other words, to ensure that you're doing what you say you're going to do. And a mentor or coach can provide you with that external perspective and support. So think about accountability, partnerships, and then finally, plan and calendar commitments. Think about what gets scheduled, gets done. It's very easy. And by the way, we're all guilty of this. I'm guilty of it. And I know most people will say at some point they have done this. They'll talk about, yeah, I want to do this and I want to do that, particularly around things like health and well-being. So doing some exercise, like, yeah, every day I'm going to do X, but it's never scheduled in the calendar. So you've got everything else going on in the calendar, but there's no scheduling for your exercise, whether it's going to the gym, going for a run or a walk, or doing your yoga, whatever it might be. And then it doesn't happen. And then it doesn't happen again. And it doesn't happen again. So where's the consistency? So what gets planned, what gets scheduled, gets done. Mark non-negotiable tasks, things that you are committed to following through on, so that you do what you say you're going to do and you are consistent about it, because when you're consistent is when you will see the progress. So mark those non-negotiable tasks in your calendar and keep them consistent as a priority. So those are your 5 strategies. I hope they are helpful for you. As I said, if you have any comments, any questions on this, then do pop them below in the comments and I will come back and respond to you. Now, as a quick recap, the importance of the 3 C's and how they can transform your career trajectory. So first of all, commitment. Again, as a reminder, your career trajectory becomes reactive instead of proactive. So when you have commitment towards your career, it will lead to greater decision making, to clarity, and to resilience when you're dealing with any obstacles that come your way, unexpected obstacles. Next, conduct and integrity. This is the bedrock of trust. It's vital for enhancing your influence and your leadership profile. It enables collaboration and makes it much more easy, and it also fosters respect and loyalty from your colleagues. And consistency. Without it, your progress can be erratic and opportunities can slip through your fingers. Your performance can be up and down because you're not being consistent with how you operate, how you show up. So think about how consistency will create momentum for you, position you as someone who is dependable and professional. It will also build your credibility and potentially open doors for you when it comes to new opportunities and promotions and so on. And remember, all of this these 3 C's can be applied to any area of your life. It doesn't just have to be your career. So where you identify parts of your life where you want to see improvements, think about how you can take these 3 C's of commitment, conduct, and consistency and apply them in a way that will help you to move forward and make the progress. And this is a great thing to think about now as we're coming towards the end of the year, and maybe you're starting to think about what's next. What are your new goals? What are you planning to achieve next year, for example? How can you take these 3 and apply that to your goals and your visions for your career and for your life? My invitation to you is to reflect on where you currently stand when it comes to each of these, so commitment, conduct, consistency, and identify one action that you can take this week to enhance each of them. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already done so. And if you enjoyed and gained value from today's episode, then do please leave a review telling us your key learnings and what you enjoyed the most. And do please share this podcast with your friends and colleagues so we can spread the word on life leadership, creating a life of choice, freedom, and new possibilities. Connect with me directly on LinkedIn, and if you would like to learn more about how we can work together, either DM me on LinkedIn or email me. All details and resources can be found in the show notes.